Excuses for Errol Spence Jr.'s devastating beatdown and defeat to Terence Bud Crawford. Are there excuses or reasons why, other than Bud Crawford being sensational in the bout? In this video, we discuss if that's a possibility. This is your boy JG. This is the Punch Report. Let's go. Like I said before, y'all, welcome back to the channel. This is your boy JG. This is the Punch Report. Come in, like, subscribe, hit that bell icon to be notified of the latest and greatest in content. Excuses for Errol. Are there excuses for Errol? Now, if you've been following my channel for a while, primarily I'll do breakdown videos. This guy got a good jab. This guy got power, whatever the case may be. At the end of that, I might provide a video, and then I'll give you a prediction for a fight. For this particular bout, Errol Spence Jr. and Terence Bud Crawford, I went with Errol Spence Jr. to get this done. I said that if Bud Crawford got this done, he would have to show me something that I've not seen him do before or recently, and he most certainly did that in a multitude of ways, but that video is not this video. I'll post that later. Did Errol Spence have an excuse for how he performed and how he showed up Saturday evening? Here's my take on the situation. No matter what happens leading up to the course of a bout, if you make it inside of the squared circle, you are who you are. That's it. If you get beat down or cooked or whatever the case may be, then you should have pulled. If you feel like that was going to be the reason why, then you pull out of the fight. But once you make in the ring, if there's a fighter there that's opposing you, who turns out to be superior in every way imaginable on that particular evening, and you get your ass whooped, then you got your ass whooped. There's a number of individuals out stating that they feel like Errol was off. Errol was either rehydrated or dehydrated, inappropriately, which caused him to suffer, be flat in appearance and flat in performance, compromises reaction time, this, that, and the third. Many individuals have stated this. There's a really good, if you want to check out Fight Hub or Fight Hype, they both have the interview, and it's of Deontay Wilder stating that he felt Errol Spence looked a little dry, that the process of losing the weight and gaining the weight from a water perspective was not appropriately executed. And that's his perspective. Even if I say I agree with Deontay Wilder, here's what I would also say. There is no version of Errol Spence pre-car accident, post-car accident that would beat that Bud Crawford that evening. That's reality. He could have been dehydrated, whatever. The way that Bud Crawford showed up, no one in the world would have beat him. Nobody would have beaten him. And that's why I think it's important to acknowledge Bud from that perspective. Because a lot of the fans, and I'm going to break down what I mean by fans, because I'm going to put two labels on the word fans. A lot of the fans who have a lot to say about Errol Spence losing, or more specifically losing very badly, is that why was he rated as such? He was this, he was that, yada, yada, yada. Errol Spence Jr. was a really great champion, a dominant champion, lifted the belt off 3 other champions, and Bud Crawford was just better than that. He was better than Errol on the 29th, Saturday, T-Mobile Arena. That's what happened. Errol could have felt any way he wanted, but Bud Crawford was that sensational. Hydrated, rehydrated, full on food, everything went perfect. If Errol Spence Jr. had the perfect camp, and I have to assume a little bit because I don't know all the capabilities and the bases that are covered, Errol Spence Jr. with a perfect camp, perfect weight cut, perfect nutrition, if he fights this Bud Crawford, maybe it's a little more compelling, but he was too dominant in a way that was breathtaking and unnerving. I said it 2 videos ago. At this point right now, Bud Crawford has no contemporaries. He stands alone in the sport of boxing, pound for pound, and it's not close or competitive. The reason why I know that is because of the respect that I have for Errol Spence Jr., who he is as a champion, what he's done, and what he's overcome. You don't get to do both, right? I can't say, well, Errol's weak and he ain't shit, and if Bud cooks him, then I elevate Bud. No, Bud gets elevated because of who he did, or what he did to who he did, right? He crushed a true champion in Errol Spence Jr. He did it emphatically, and it almost looked like sparring. He came away so healthy. Like, Errol, he's going to need some time, right? Get medically cleared. Bud Crawford came away so healthy, untouched, and unscathed. If you gave him 4 to 6 weeks, he could probably fight again, and he'd probably win. This video is about this channel, my channel, and JG, me, your boy JG. There are no excuses for Errol Spence Jr. There are possibilities. Yeah, his weight cut could have been terrible. He could have felt like ass. It could have been anything. But no version of Errol Spence Jr. beats that Terence Bud Crawford that showed up Saturday, July 29th at T-Mobile Arena. Undisputed world champion, 147 pounds, Errol Spence Jr., Terence Bud Crawford. That Bud Crawford, the one picture on the screen there, does not lose to any version of Errol Spence. And I said this, the very first video that I posted Sunday morning, bright and early, I said, shout out to Errol. I got love for Errol. I got love for Bud. Shout out to Errol specifically because I don't know if in that bout I saw a reason for a rematch. Rumors are circulating that that's already been initiated and, and there's a date set or whatever. I don't know anything about that. But what I would say is I'm going to do a video about the one critical error that you made against Bud Crawford that you've been doing that I haven't really discussed that got you in trouble this time. I'm going to do that video. But from that perspective, all the data and tape that we have on Errol Spence Jr. and what he's capable of doing, if you think about him in a matchup with Bud, if it's going to be this guy, the guy pictured here every single time out, because he's had showings where you question who Bud Crawford is, but this was not one of them. And it wasn't that he beat Errol down so viciously. It's about how he looked doing it. He looked like even if Errol was in tremendous physical, like Errol was the height of his powers, Bud Crawford had not ascended to the full strength of the form he presented on Saturday evening. He had more things he could go to, more things he could do, more power he could apply, more pressure that he can put. He had more. He did not get tested by Errol Spence Jr. Bud Crawford didn't get tested. And furthermore, I see a couple comments about, oh, I thought Errol had a good chin and good stamina. Yeah, Errol has those things. Because his ass got off the deck 3 times. And he was rocked so early in the fight, first, maybe second round, in my opinion, never really recovered. He was rocked so crucial. You got to have a tank or you got to have a chin to make the 9th round, even getting pummeled. Getting your bell rung is never going to be a good scenario in a fight, though. It's going to compromise your ability to do a lot of different things. For me, no matter what someone comes out with, unless they come out and say, like, Errol Spence had a brain tumor or some shit, unless it's crazy, I'm not really checking for that. I can say out of my mouth that, yeah, Errol may have been compromised, but no version of Errol would have beat that Terence Bud Crawford. Because I got asked a question before the fight took place, knowing that my pick for the fight was Errol Spence Jr., what would you do if Bud won? So I get to be out in front of this and say, oh, Bud Crawford gets this done. He will be widely recognized as the pound-for-pound best fighter on the planet Earth today, generationally. All the words, colloquialisms you can put in there, all that would be Terence Bud Crawford, and it would be without argument. The fact that he got it done in a way that I did not see or ever would have imagined pushes it to the point where he is without contemporary, as I mentioned before. Bud Crawford has no peers. He stands alone at the top of the mountain. And one of the things is he in his career has figured out a way to make adjustments. I think that his mobility is compromised by his increased size and his age overall. But then what they've done is develop speed and strength, a slightly wider base, and the ability to rely on his athleticism to read and avoid incoming damage and counter beautifully. He's flirting with the idea of having the perfect career because even at 35 years of age, he can still stop people. If you make mistakes, yeah, you have to pay for those. You got to pay for those mistakes. And I will still contend that Terence Bud Crawford is really not a big puncher, but boy, oh boy, is he violent, mean, and accurate. They say speed, accuracy beats power. Unless you're Tank Davis or Deontay Wilder, then you just lose unless you're Tyson Fury. Terence Bud Crawford, as I mentioned before, stands alone at the top of the mountain. He does not have contemporaries. He does not have peers. That is what it means to be legitimately pound for pound number one fighter on the planet. I said in multiple videos leading up to this fight that despite the fact that Bud has been rated at number one, Usyk has been up there. They went NOA up there for a couple weeks. And obviously Canelo before, he had some questionable performances and the loss of Beeble. Bud Crawford's been in that 1 to 2Z window of pound for pound. But I think the waters have always been muddy just based on the names I rattled off. When we had Mayweather, even 18-month layoff, 30-month layoff, whatever, before he fought Marquez, so 18 months. He wasn't even in the sport and he was still rated pound for pound as a retired fighter. That's like solidifying yourself. Terence Bud Crawford has moved into that house. It might not be the master bedroom just yet, but he's moved into the house of not having peers and not having contemporaries. I'm going to get a little bit ahead of myself here, but I think about the idea of Bud Crawford remaining at 54, which I also don't think is a great idea. Clearly, he has it figured out a little more than Errol Spence Jr., but I think he pushed himself to make the weight. The additional muscle was a massive benefit, and he wore it really well athletically and functionally. But let's entertain the idea that Bud Crawford stays at 147 pounds. Virgil Ortiz, Jaron Ennis, Stanionis. I don't think Stanionis and Virgil Ortiz are ever going to fight. They've had that fight canceled 15,000 times. Obviously, we know that Boots Ennis came off the, slow, methodical destruction of Roman Villa. I think that's one of those fights that probably could have been stopped a couple rounds earlier, and we just got to see Jaron Ennis get off. In the welterweight division, Keith Thurman's also lurking out there. But what other guys are out there that you're really checking for at 47 should Crawford stay? I would love to see a Crawford-Thurman fight. I think that would be dope. I think it would be a good fight. I think that Keith Thurman is he's so vulnerable to the body. He moves well, but he gets hit a lot against guys who are not as skilled as Bud Crawford. He can thump, and he is athletic. He can move his feet well. But Bud Crawford is so savvy. I mean, I think Bud Crawford could probably get that done inside of 4 rounds. That's no disrespect to Keith Thurman, but his precision punching, I don't know of a sharper precision puncher than I've ever watched fight, ever, in my entire life, than Terence Bud Crawford. He really ascended. He has to give Errol a lot of credit because he elevated himself in his game at 35 to be something different than he was against Avanesian, against Jeff Horn, against Jose Benavidez, against all these guys. If you're a fan of Bud Crawford and you want to get on here and say, no, he's been this way, cap, sorry. He's been great, but he's God tier. He's as close to complete as humanly possible. So thanks, Errol. Cass was picking you to win the fight. You pissed off Terence Crawford and his team, and they leveled up on you crazy. But yeah, I don't have excuses for Errol Spence, but I can say, yeah, he may have been compromised. But even more so, Bud Crawford was so great, none of this stuff even matters. No one's making excuses for Errol Spence. Unless they come out and say something crazy, Bud Crawford's performance supersedes any perception of who and what Errol was, or has once been. Crawford was so sensational that he told us that no matter who was in the ring that evening, no matter what condition they were in, I'm the best fighter on the planet, and it's not close. Shout out to NOA. I know they wanted NOA up there, and I'm not saying he's not great, but it's next level, G. It's next level. Bud Crawford has an opportunity to be the first fighter in the men's bracket of things to be undisputed in 3 divisions. That's a possibility. And if I were Bud Crawford, I would get the Errol Spence Jr. rematch out of the way, win, lose, or draw. I got to go back to the drawing board before I start breaking the fight down again, because I would only use the last fight, and it would be highly critical of Errol. And do I have the confidence that he could change some of those things? Maybe. But anyway, get the Errol Spence rematch out of the way. Charlo's fighting up at 68. I'm sure he'll come back to to 54, or not 68, 60. No, yeah, it is 68. Fighting at 68, I'm sure he'll come back down no matter what happens to defend his crown. There's going to be an opportunity for Bud Crawford to become undisputed at 54. And he looks sensational here, and the weight looks like it killed him a little bit. And there's a difference between 40, 47, obviously, and 54. And he's coming up from 35. I'm not in a position to question Terence Bud Crawford. This is your boy JG. This is a Punch Report. No excuses for Errol. It'd have to be something really good where I'm like, yo, I know Bud Crawford looked crazy, but, you know, Errol's eyeball fell out or something like that. You know, that's crazy shit. So I don't anticipate that. I don't have excuses for Errol Spence Jr. Terence Bud Crawford, I said it's possible he can go out there and get it done. I needed to see something I had not seen before, and he provided that in abundance. This is your boy JG. This is a Punch Report. Shout out to everyone that's been rocking with the channel. We moving right along, doing our thing. Can't wait to cover this fight more. Like I said, it's looking like Errol has triggered the rematch clause. Bud's comfortable with 154. No issues there. I'm going to continue to dissect these fighters additionally. There's a lot of areas I did not examine. That wouldn't have changed my pick, just FYI. But really from the perspective of the rematch, I don't know if a rematch is necessary. I don't know if a rematch is necessary. But let me know what you guys would also like to see. What's next for Errol? What's next for Bud? He's in full control at this point. And if it's not Bud Crawford for Errol Spence Jr., then what direction does Errol go in? Obviously, we know he's going to go to 54. Retirement talk's a little crazy. Anyway, let me know what y'all think. Your boy JG, Punch Report, we out.